right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our last lesson on graphing linear equations. If you're at the 8th grade general math class, lesson 4.7, page 186. And if you are with the 7th accelerated math group, lesson 13.7, page 610 in your math book, where today we're going to apply what we learned to write an equation of a line. And we're going to be given the slope and a point on that line. So when it says a point is a point on that line, ladies and gentlemen, our essential question: how can you write the equation of a line when given the slope? We know that slope is m, and a point on the line. So we're going to pick some point x and y, and we're going to call that x1, y1, because there's many points on that line. We're just choosing that one. So we're calling it x1, y1. And you know this because you've already read your respective lesson from the book and had an idea what we're going to be talking about. And it was probably some mumbo jumbo to you when you read it. So hopefully as we discuss it, it will become a little bit more clear. And then when you come to class, you're going to ask more questions, and we're going to make it even more clear then. So ladies and gentlemen, it says that when you have some equation written in this form, y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1, you have a slope. The slope being m right there. We knew slope was m, and that you have a point that line passes through using that given slope. And we call that x1, y1. Okay? And they're given to you right here. So when you look at the picture, you see they have this point right here, x1, y1. And that line goes through that point. And then if you were to calculate the slope of that line, well, that point, x1, y1, would be used to find the change in y and the change in x, as you would do that math possibly using the slope formula. Or just, if you had it on a graph, you could actually count it. So let's see if that makes a little bit more sense when we go over here. So here I have this graph and I have this point, x1, y1. And through that point, I have this line right here. And if I just gave you this graph, you could certainly write the equation of the line. Because you could come right here and you could say, hey, my intercept, B, is at -2. And my slope, well, I can just count this from the line. 1, 2 up, and 1, 2 over. So 2 over 2, my slope, 2 over 2 is equal to 1. So I could write y equals x minus 2, and I have the equation of the line. Well, of course, that's written in slope-intercept form, but that is the equation of that line passing through that point. Well, we want to write it differently. We're going to write it in y minus, and we have here y1, which in this particular case, x1, y1 is at 2, 1. So I would say y minus 1 is equal to, I do have my slope now, and that is 1. And so I would just write m, or 1. I'm going to write 1. I'd write 1. 1 times the quantity of x minus x1, which in this case is 2. And I would write that 1 because I do want to distribute that 1 later. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just do some. We're just going to flat do some right now. We're just going to plug and chug, super procedural. And then when we get to our second video with some real life situations, it's going to start making hopefully a little bit more sense how this comes into play. So we're going to write in point slope form the equation of the line that passes through point 2, 3 with a slope of 4. And so obviously I have given you the point slope form right here that we will eventually remember. And so all we need to do is plug and chug right into that formula, this point and the slope. So I'm going to label right now x1, y1, that's my point. And I have my slope being 4. So I can come right on over and I can go y minus, well, x1 being 3 equals my slope, they gave it to me, 4, times x minus, and x1 being 2. So right here, all I had to do was take these points and put y1 there and x1 there, and voila. I have written that in a form. There's nothing there I can simplify. All I did was write it in that form. We're done. Moving right along to our second example. Once again, we're just going to label real fast. x1, y1, my slope being -3. And I go y minus. Well, y1 is -2 equals my slope -3 times the quantity of x minus x1 being 1. Well, I do have something here I can simplify because I have a negative over here. So y minus the negative 2 actually becomes y plus 2, and then we have negative 3 times x minus 1, and we are done with that one. Going on to our third example, writing in point-slope form again, the equation of the line that passes through negative 3, negative 5, with a slope of negative 2, I have my x1, y1 point, and my slope being negative 2. So I write y minus, and again my y1 right here is negative 5 equals my slope, negative 2, times the quantity of x minus, and x1 is also negative. Negative 3 and a double parentheses there. And I have two things that I can simplify now because y minus the negative 5 becomes y plus 5 times the negative 2 times the quantity. Well, x minus the negative 3 becomes x plus 3, and I am done. So, if I'm given a point and I'm given the slope and I write it in that form, in the point-slope form of the equation, voila, there it is. But we're not really done with that yet. What we want to do is we actually want to get to where we can write the equation in slope-intercept form because that becomes helpful with graphing. Point-slope form doesn't help us graph, but point-slope form helps us get to slope-intercept form. And there's two ways, and of course I am going to show you the point-slope form first. And it says, write in slope-intercept form an equation of the line that passes through these 2 points. Wow, we don't know the slope now. All we have is these 2 points. But we can use these 2 points because we're going to use our definition of slope being the slope formula where we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or however form you want to use to find that slope. So right here I'm going to go 3 minus 0 over 6 minus a negative 3. And that's going to give me 3 over 9, which simplifies to a slope of 1 over 3. So now I'm going to use this 2 different ways. So you might want to draw a line down, giving yourself a little bit of room, of course showing the math on how you found the slope. So now we have a slope and we have 2 points. So we're going to use that and we're going to put it in point-slope form first. And I'm going to go y minus, and I'm just going to use this first point. I'm going to use red. I'm going to use this first point right here, and I'm going to put y1, which is 0, equals my slope, which I now have is 1/3, times x minus, and of course, x1 is negative 3. And now I'm going to use that, and I'm going to write the point-slope form, the slope-intercept form from this point-slope form by actually doing all the math. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute this 1/3. And I'm going to end up with y. Do I need to subtract 0? Now I can leave that out. We don't add or subtract zeros, so I'm just going to leave that out. And I'm going to have 1/3 times x, which is 1/3 x, and 1/3 times, well, this over here, that's a positive 3. So 1/3 times a positive 3 is 1. So now I have it. Y equals 1/3 x plus 1. Wow. Well, the other form we can use would be the slope-intercept form to actually write the slope-intercept form using slope and a point. And you're probably thinking, well, how can I do that? And I'm going to show you. Of course, the first thing we have to do is find the slope, and we've done that. We found the slope of 1/3. So we can start to write y equals mx plus b is the slope-intercept form. So I'm going to write y equals, I already know my slope, 1/3 x plus b. We need to find what that intercept is. Well, notice I do have an x and a y, and I can use that x and y as a point. And I'm going to use that same point, and I'm going to put y1 there, and I'm going to put this x1 here, and I'm going to say that 0 equals 1/3 times a negative 3 plus b. And now when I do the math, well, 1/3 times a negative 3, 0 equals negative 1 plus b. Add 1 to both sides, b equals 1. So now I know my slope, 1/3. I know my intercept, 1. I can use that to write y equals 1/3 x plus 1. A lot of information being sent your way. We're going to do it again. And of course, we're going to do it in class, and we're going to talk about it more. One more time. writing in slope-intercept form, an equation of line that passes through these 2 points, 1, -1, and 2, 1. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find our slope, right? And so I'm just going to take the first point, 1, -1, and I'm going to subtract the second point, 2, 1, and 1 minus 2 is -1, and -1 minus 1 is -2. And I know that my y goes over x, so -2 over -1, my slope m is 2. My slope m is 2. So I'm going to come over here again, I'm going to divide it up, and I'm going to use my point slope form, and I'm going to write y minus, and again I'm going to use this first point, I'm going to use this one right here, and I'm going to put y1 right here, so -1 equals slope, which I have is 2, times x minus, well, my x1 is 1, so I'm going to put that right there. And now I'm going to do the math, and as I simplify, I have y plus 1 equals, and I'm going to distribute here, so 2x minus 2. And now I'm going to do the last thing, subtract 1 from both sides, I get y equals 2x minus 3 in slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b, the equation of the line passing through those 2 points. All right, so let's do it in the slope-intercept form. Doing it the same darn way, except using, instead of the point-slope form, we're going to use the slope-intercept form. And so I'm going to start off and I'm going to say y equals my slope, which is 2, times x plus b. And then I'm going to plug those numbers in again. I'm going to put my y number here, and I'm going to put my x number there, and I'm going to say -1 equals 2 times 1 plus b. Well, 2 times 1 is 2, so -1 equals 2 plus b. Subtract 2 from both sides. -3 equals b. Well, now I have my intercept of -3 and my slope of 2. So y equals 2x minus 3. Bam. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the end of our first video. You have your quick write. Please write these down. My point is 3, -6 with a slope of -4/3. Writing that in point slope form. The first one writing in point slope form. And then the second one writing in slope intercept form. And I have 2 points, -3, 0, and 6, 3. When we're done, take a small break, a mental break. Come back, join us for our second video.